This is the Greg Bedard Patriots Podcast with Nick Kadlick.
You are listening to the Greg Bedard Patriots Podcast with Nick Kadlick, part of the CLNS Media Network. And, of course, this episode is brought to you by Prizepicks, the largest daily fantasy sports platform in North America. Download the Prizepicks app today. Use code CLNS and get $50 instantly when you play $5. All right, before we get into this game, Greg, a number of things we want to talk about. We'll begin with Stefon Diggs, who spoke to the media yesterday. And, of course, the quote that everybody's talking about was when Diggs brought up Tom Curran, Phil Perry, talking about him and calling him, Phil called him a pain in the posterior, I do believe. What was your reaction to what Diggs had to say to Phil, Tom, and everybody else in that room?
It was I mean, I was going to use the word stunning. I don't think I was stunned or anything like that. I was just like, well, this is interesting. It's one of the more interesting press conferences that I've attended in my career. I think it goes along with the Steph Diggs experience. A couple of things on what he said. Look, I think I said probably similar about Diggs, and this is what he gets when he doesn't talk. I mean, this is what he gets when he selectively talks. And all of a sudden, like, I think the last time we heard from him, I want to say was in some sort of wake of the video, like a week later or something like that, when he showed up at like OTAs or minicamp or something like that.
Yeah.
I don't talk during training camp. He did talk to Diana Rossini on her podcast, and I think he might have been on another one. I'm not really sure. But he said that he decided not to talk to get his mind right, get his body right. That's fine. And these are some of the same arguments that we had about Bill when he was here, about what questions he would answer, which ones he wouldn't answer. And when you don't answer questions or you don't talk, that there is a void that the media is going to fill, and you have only yourself to blame. Don't blame the messenger. Don't blame us. He could have come out. He did the interview instead of Vrabel being there when Phil asked him about Diggs's comments, and that led to do you really believe that, Phil? That whole rant.
Yeah.
That could have been Steph Diggs the next day. He could have been like, you know what? I need to clear this up, or at least put a bow on it. I didn't see the need for Phil and Tom to apologize, which they did. That's on them. Normally, those type of interactions, and I guess Phil said that he did have an interaction with Diggs on Friday, privately. That's normally how these things are done. I mean, trust me, I've had all sorts of players, including like Jason Taylor, bitch me out in front of a room full of people, and that's fine. But it's just curious, and I think it goes to look, Diggs is a little bit of a pain in the rear end, and I think yesterday was an example of it, where he made a story out of really nothing, something that could have been handled on the side. He could have just apologized to the group about, which he did, but make it more about the group, where I'm sorry I haven't been more available. I will be going forward. I hope we have a good relationship, all that. But yeah, it was certainly an interesting experience. It seemed like he cleared up some things as far as his availability. I asked him about whether he's going to be on the snap count, and he said, hell no, or said, well, I hope I'm not, but we'll have to see. I'm not the boss. Yeah, we'll have to see, because I think the Patriots, Vrabel and Josh McDaniels, are going to have something to say about that. And we'll see whether it jives with Steph Diggs, and that will be a storyline if he's playing 50% of the snaps or what have you. We don't exactly know how that's going to go, but yeah, certainly a strange day down at Gillette.
I was more concerned about the snap count thing, and who knows? I mean, obviously the player is going to say, I don't want to sit out. I don't want to miss snaps. I want to be out there for, 60, 70 snaps. That's how these guys are wired. So I'm not going to take too much out of what Diggs said. I do think paying close attention to the snaps on Sunday and see how much of a progression if he doesn't go out there and play 50, 60 snaps, how much of a progression will he make through the first month of the season? I do think is critical for him and the team's offense in what their ceiling is as they start getting ready for Buffalo Week 5 on Sunday night. All right, there's this story out there. It's not even a story. There's always something in Boston, as we know. And there's a lot of time to spend on the air. There's a lot of time to talk about every possible scenario. And apparently, the Christian Gonzalez conversation has now taken a little bit of an off-ramp from just hamstring injury to, is there something else going on? Is there some kind of contractual thing? Is there some kind of issue between Vrabel and Gonzalez? I have my own thoughts, trust me, and I will share those with all of you in just a couple of minutes. But first, I want to cede the floor to Greg Bedard. Your thoughts, Greg, on Gonzalez and what's going on here?
Yeah, I just think it's I don't have a sports talk radio show. I appear on one, but I don't think there's a story there. I think that this is a hamstring that has lingered. That happens. Maybe Christian tried to push it at one point and it set him back. Who knows? But I will say, and we've talked about this before, one thing you need to watch going forward with this situation, with other injury situations as they come up during the season, is that Vrabel doesn't really like injuries, and especially soft tissue injuries. And he has a history of this. And I was actually looking back, and Vrabel at the end of it was, I think it was his last season in Tennessee, where they, or maybe it was his next to last, wherever they had like 33 guys on injured reserve, and he took shots at the former GM. He took shots at a couple of players, Christian Fulton and linebacker David Long, for missing time due to injuries. He thinks that soft tissue injuries can be prevented and avoided. And he sort of called out those guys. He said, we look at soft tissue injuries. We look at those of repeat offenders. It doesn't take too hard to look and see, Christian Fulton and David Long, the repeat offenders of soft tissue injuries. You have to figure out a way to train and act like this game's played at a high speed. Kevin Byard hasn't pulled a hamstring since we've been here. There's a durability factor to playing professional football, and we should not overlook that's real. There's guys that are durable and guys that aren't. And I'm not saying this to insinuate that there's something between Vrabel and Gonzalez, because they don't have a history. And yeah, Gonzalez has an injury history. His other one was, I think, a shoulder. And so there was nothing that he could really do about that. He had some injuries in college, but as far as this situation right now, I don't think there's any sort of thing going on between Vrabel, the team, Gonzalez, contract, business decisions. I just think it's a hamstring injury that's lingered. He plays one of those positions where that tends to happen. Unfortunately, could Christian have done more to prevent this from happening? I don't know. I'm not a doctor. I don't know the exams. I know that the team, from what I've been told, doesn't have a big issue with it. And it's just one of those things you go through, and we'll have to see how it goes.
I hope people take the time and listen closely to a few things here that I've got to say, because I think I can add to what's being said out there with some actual factual context and what we're looking at here. Number one, the contract thing, you can't extend him until after this season. So that would be more of like next training camp. If he's trying to cause some kind of an issue, it would make a hell of a lot more sense if it was happening in 26 than 25. And I heard Evan Lazar and other people say this, and I agree with Evan and others. It actually hurts Gonzalez if he misses games, because the one thing you can say about him is that he missed most of his rookie season. So if there's one question about him, it's not his ability to play the position, okay? It's whether or not you can bank on him to play 15 or more games. So if he's missing games in the beginning of the season, that actually hurts his case and hurts his leverage. All right, that's one. Two, everybody is talking about the Jordan Schultz tweet. The Jordan Schultz tweet seen and heard around the world. Jordan tweeted this on July 29th. Gonzalez suffered a hamstring injury that will sideline him for a bit, but I'm told it will not impact his week 1 availability. That's what everybody's running with. I remind you that happened at 11:17 a.m. Let's go to the OG, Karen Garigian. The OG at 2:39 p.m., so more than 3 hours after the Schultz tweet, she tweeted, I'm told the Patriots are not sure how long Gonzalez will be out with a hamstring injury. They're just taking it day by day. My read on this, Greg, and I want your thoughts. It seems to me somebody, I don't know who it was, spoke to Jordan Schultz. Somebody with the Patriots saw the Jordan Schultz report and said, what the bleep? Why are we talking about 6 weeks from now and whether or not this guy's going to be available when he just yanked his hamstring on the field? Let's pump the brakes. We don't know how long he's going to be out. We have no idea because it's a hamstring injury. And whoever that was went to Karen and said, can you try to help put the fire out? Because we have no idea how long this guy is going to be out. Is that how you would read the situation?
Yeah, I would read it as, and we've had this discussion before about Jordan Schultz and some of his information. He is very agent heavy in terms of so he probably called up the agent after it happened, and the agent's just like, yeah, pulled his hamstring. It doesn't seem like a big deal. I don't think the season's in jeopardy. And I think that Karen talked to somebody around the team, and I will say that the Patriots sort of this new group of Patriots sort of handle it this way, where they're just like, they're not gonna lie. They're not gonna lie to you. They're gonna be like, yeah, we really have no idea how long this is going to take. We're just going to take it day by day.
And it's this idea of people are saying, and this is some of the Twitter stuff, but this is what happens when you start throwing some things out there. Oh, well, the medical staff thought Christian Gonzalez was going to be back by now. How the hell do we know what the medical staff thought at the time or thinks right now about the injury? Oh, well, Vrabel's frustrated because Gonzalez isn't out there. How in the hell do we know why Vrabel's frustrated? Maybe Vrabel's frustrated because Jordan Schultz tweeted like 20 minutes after the injury that week 1 wasn't going to be an issue. And maybe Vrabel's pissed because he's got to stand there and answer these questions every day about Gonzalez's availability based off that one tweet while nobody else is paying attention to what Karen wrote the same day, hours later, which was they have no clue when this guy is going to be back. And I would just remind people, the other thing is, oh, well, he should be back on the field by now. Oh, really? Are you a doctor? Have you had a hamstring tear? Have you played professional football? Just Google it. Take 5 seconds and Google it, or just follow me at Nick C Radio on Twitter because I Googled it for you and took a screenshot and posted it. Hamstring pulls, okay? Grade 1, 1 week to 3 weeks. Grade 2, 3 weeks to 6 weeks. Grade 3 is severe, 6+ weeks, could be as long as 3 months. That's what a hamstring strain is. There are 3 different grades. If Christian Gonzalez has a grade 2 strain, which by deductive reasoning, we can probably guess he does, this is about week 5. The recovery period is 3 weeks to 6 weeks. So if Gonzalez is back on the field next week, guess what? He's actually right on time for a grade 2 strain. You Doogie Housers out there. So can we just stop the bullshit? Like if he's not out there by like week 3 or 4, then I think it's fair to have a conversation and go, all right, what's happening here? Because he's been out for 7-8 weeks. Is this severe? Why did they not put him on the IR? That's the conversation. But as far as right now, I mean, the guy's 5 weeks into a very tricky injury. So take a deep breath because I'm going to while Greg tells us about Prizepicks.
Prizepicks is the best place to turn your sports knowledge into cash. With millions of members, Prizepicks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You just pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 2,000 times your cash. Run your game all season long on Prizepicks. I'll be sitting down for the opener tonight. Couldn't come up with anybody better than the Cowboys for the Eagles for this opener. And then you have Friday, you have the Chiefs and Chargers in Brazil. Nick, did you see them walking out on the practice field today? It looked like that crappy field that the Patriots were on down in Florida a couple years ago.
Oh, really?
Yeah. On Prizepicks, it should make for some really good footing, I'm sure. On Prizepicks, you can mix and match player projections from different sports, combine your favorite basketball players with players from baseball, hockey, football, of course, esports, and much more. Prizepicks invented the flex play, which means you can still cash out if your lineup isn't perfect. You can double your money even if one of your picks doesn't hit. Prizepicks puts their members first, so all withdrawals are fast, safe, and secure. When my picks hit, I can get my money in as quick as 15 minutes. Prizepicks also offers weekly promotions that can lead to big payouts like Taco Tuesday. Each Tuesday, Prizepicks discounts select player projections up to 25% to provide even more value for your lineups. Oh, yeah. Download the app today and use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Again, that's code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prizepicks, run your game.
And for those listening, we ask that you subscribe to the podcast, leave a review. Those watching the show on CLNS, go ahead and hit that like button and subscribe to the Patriots Press Pass YouTube channel where you can find our show and a lot of other great Patriots content, which, by the way, I don't know why our faces are so huge. I've asked this to the CLNS team roughly 727 times why when we record, it's not this like extreme close-up. And they told me to change some of the things, and I changed some of the things in the background, but yet our huge faces are still there. So if you watch us, God bless you. My wife won't even watch me. But so, I wish you well. But please make sure to turn on your notifications so the instant a new video drops. And check out Greg at BSJ, $50 for the year with Giardi. And let me just say this quickly. I read through the entire story earlier today. If you happen to be an NBA fan as well, check out John Corrales' story. It's an exclusive to Boston Sports Journal. It's about Kawhi Leonard and the story that Pablo Torre first kicked off yesterday about this, shady payment that was made for Kawhi to endorse a company. He never endorsed the company. John has a lot more information about that. It is a must read. John did great work on it. So check that story out as well while you're at BSJ. All right, let's get to football. The Raiders. Let's start defensively, Greg, because I know you're a big fan of this defense. Just some of your thoughts going in as you watched more of the film.
So, what's really interesting, and I think this matchup is completely unpredictable at this point. I mean, you're talking about two new coaching staffs, a lot of new personnel. I don't even know where you base things off of. Like, you have Pete Carroll as the head coach, and we know him from the Seattle Cover 3, but his defensive coordinator is Patrick Graham, who has been the defense coordinator for the Raiders for a few years, came over with Josh McDaniels. So exactly, what are they going to be running? Who knows? I will say, look, it all starts with Max Crosby. We all know that. I have nightmares, listening to Drake May talk yesterday about how it's on him to get the ball out of his hands. The thing with Max Crosby, that there's a couple things. Number one, they'll line him up all over the place. Most of the time, he's going to be over the right tackle.
Yeah.
Just with the unpredictability about what to expect with the Raiders. Like, earlier today, I went into NFL Pro to watch film, and I was like, okay, well, let me put Geno Smith's name in there. 10 plays from the preseason. Okay. Wonderful. Let me put Max Crosby's name in there. I thought he might play more snaps because he is one of these guys that's an animal. He loves the reps at practice. I've said this before, when they had joint practices with the Patriots, Max Crosby took all the reps, one-on-one pass rush reps that he could get, like way more than most established NFL starters would take. He's an animal like that. But guess how many snaps Max Crosby played in the preseason? 3. So, including one of the plays where I forget who they were playing. It was a red team. I don't know. It could have been the Chiefs. I don't know. No, it wouldn't have been the Chiefs because they're a divisional team. But anyways, Tay ran a toss right with a crack block. Like, the tight end was supposed to crack down on Max Crosby, who was there. And Max Crosby, as he is prone to do, just totally blew the thing up and tackled the guy for like a 7-yard loss. Like, I mean, it's just like, it was child's play for him. Like, really, this is what you're going to do? That's the stuff. I mean, I could see McDaniels doing something like that. I mean, whether it's Hooper or Westover, like, he is tough to block because he is a constant moving target. Nobody is more flexible. nobody is more agile at defensive end, just on the defensive side, than Max Crosby. Micah Parsons is in that group. So they are going to have a plan. They will. On the other side, where we'll see Will Campbell, you have Malcolm Kuntz, who missed all of last year with injury. He was a good player. He had like 8 sacks the year before. I assume we'll see some Tyree Wilson, who was a top pick a couple years ago. But other than that, they don't really have much. Their defensive interior isn't very good. Adam Butler, I expect he's going to play a lot. We all know him as more of a pass rusher than a run guy. I think that the Patriots will be able to do some things between the tackles, running the ball, play action. The linebackers aren't very good. You have a Landon Roberts, Jermaine Pratt. At times with the Bengals has been a good player. They got Devin White, who you remember claim to fame was with the Bucks when they won a Super Bowl, but he's just gone downhill since. The secondary is there's not really any name recognition out there as far as cornerbacks or safety. I mean, decent group, but I feel good about the Patriots' ability to move the ball on offense as long as you just have to stop Max Crosby.
Yeah, I think Butler could be a little bit better than people think. If you look at some of his analytics from last year, he was one of the steady guys for them defensively on that line, along with Crosby. I would not compare him to Crosby, obviously, but he was one of the guys they could bank on a little bit last year. They lost Bennett. They lost Morig. They lost Hobbs in the secondary at corner. Morig was the safety, really, really good against the run. So those 3 guys are gone. They replaced them with Eric Stokes, who former first-round pick, who's just never really panned out. Darian Porter is a guy who is a young guy that really hasn't had a great preseason. Jeremy Chin is, I guess, somewhat going to replace Morig, but Chin has also been playing nickelback, which is interesting. I wonder how Josh McDaniels feels about that. Hint, hint. And if you look at Kuntz and Wilson, as Greg mentioned, Wilson had a pretty good year last year after being somewhat quiet early on. So he took a step forward last year. Kuntz blew out his ACL last August and missed the entire season. So I do think they have some guys that they can mix and match on the edge that might cause a little problem on the opposite side of Crosby. But the defense, I think the Patriots will have opportunities to score points, and I think they'll have opportunities to move the football all day long if they take care of themselves and their side. Offensively, Greg, for the Raiders, obviously, Chip Kelly is the new OC in town. Geno Smith is the new quarterback, and they also drafted Ashton Genty at the top of the draft or near the top of the draft. What do you see from them?
So I like this group overall. I mean, now Genty, 3 snaps in the preseason that I watched today. I think he is definitely still feeling his way. The carries that I saw, he sort of just ran into people. Vision wasn't great. His elusiveness wasn't great. He's just more of a punishing back. I don't think he really adds a whole lot in the pass game. That's something that he's going to need to develop. I think Chip Kelly, from what I saw, you're going to see a lot of pistol out of the Raiders. I've always liked Geno Smith. I think he's very underrated. I think that he's really good at standing tall in the pocket under pressure and delivering passes. We saw what he did with the Seahawks last year against the Patriots, bringing them back in week 2. I like their offensive line. I think they're better than the Patriots right now. I think Colton Miller's a good left tackle. Dylan Parham at left guard is a good player. Jordan Meredith at center, I think, is a pretty solid center. Jackson Powers Johnson, JPJ at right guard. He was a center last year. Sort of up and down as a rookie, but he's entering his second season. He had a really good reputation coming out as a second rounder. DJ Glaze at right tackle is pretty solid 3rd round pick last year. I like that group. I like their wide receivers. Jacoby Myers is going to be inside. We know about him. We'll see how happy he is to still be there. He had a quote yesterday where he said, I asked them, they said no about his trade request.
Yeah.
I like Dante Thornton Jr., fourth round pick, tall guy, will play on the right side. Geno Smith will just throw jump balls up to him. That should be Carlton Davis's side. I like that matchup for the Patriots. Trey Tucker is sort of the little speedster gadget guy that they would use. Jack Besh, second rounder. I haven't seen a whole lot of him. I know he has a really good reputation. He was one of the guys that I was eyeing for the Patriots. They just brought Amari Cooper in, like off the street, like a week ago. So we'll have to see how that goes. But the two tight ends, Brock Bowers is awesome. I really like Michael Mayer as well. That's going to cause issues. I mean, they got basically sort of a new safety group with Woodson and Hawkins now in more of a starting role, where last year he was sort of more the third safety for the Patriots. How do those guys fare? How do the linebackers cover? I think is a big question mark. And I think between Myers and the two tight ends in the middle of the field, that's a matchup that I think favors the Raiders right now. But of course, we're saying this, there's a lot of unknown about the Patriots and the Raiders as far as how things are going to go. But like I said the other day, I don't know if both teams are going to score a lot of points, which is what I said on radio the other day. I do think that the ball is going to go up and down the field, because I do think that there are a lot of questions about both defenses, and I feel better about sort of the explosiveness or big playability of both offenses in these matchups with these defenses.
Yeah, so DJ Glaze, the right tackle, DJ Glaze, he actually took over for Thayer Munford, who is now a Patriot on the practice squad. Munford was the starting right tackle last year, then got hurt a couple games in. Glaze did a good job. They felt really good about him, so they've kept him there as their starting right tackle. Powers Johnson, interesting. As you mentioned, Greg, he was a center. Now he's playing right guard. Some thought that Jordan Meredith would be a guard. Now he's playing center, but those guys have played pretty well. So I agree with you. The offensive line's good. Jacoby's Jacoby, a consummate professional. I think he's better than people think that he is, or at least was with the Patriots. I think he's steadily improved. He's especially improved down the field, and 87 catches last year without a single drop. One of the most sure-handed receivers in all of football. And Genty, what's interesting is he did do some damage as a receiver in 2023 at Boise State, but he didn't do as much in 2024. So we'll see if they try to play some games. And I would warn everybody, and Greg's kind of hinted towards this, but preseason is mostly useless now. And so, Chip Kelly, I think, he's going to go out there and run some generic stuff. Pete Carroll, Patrick Graham, they're going to run some generic stuff. I don't think anything you saw in the preseason should make you say, oh, that's what they're going to do 100%. So who knows? Who the hell knows? That's why you come here, really. The expert opinion of who the hell knows. We've got more, but first, want to let you know, CLNS Media Network, Celtics Podcast, NBA History Channel, of course, the Patriots Press Pass, which I pumped earlier, and Bruins Ringside. All right, quickly, Greg, I want to run through with you the state of this Patriots roster as we get ready for Week 1. Offensively, let's go from least to most worried. The position that you're least worried about offensively is running back.
Yeah, I love that group. I love all three of them. I love their versatility, their ability to do different things, their ability to execute. I love them. And I'll be interested to see if you have any objections to my sort of worry list. So we're starting with the on offense, how confident I am. I'm most confident in the running backs.
Yes.
I actually have quarterbacks at number 2. And I think that is I have a lot of faith in Drake May, but I also like the Tommy DeVito edition, that if something should happen to Drake May, and chances are probably likely that something happens at some point.
Don't you say it. Don't you say it. Do not speak it into existence, Gregory.
Okay. I will not. But should something unfortunate happen, I like that DeVito is here to push and compete with Josh Dobbs and give them another option because, I will say, Vrabel said this a couple times, and I think he's right about how Dobbs showed better in the games than he has in a lot of the practices. And maybe that's just the way he is. I don't know. But I would agree with that. So quarterbacks was number 2, tight end / fullback number 3. My only worry with that group is depth.
Yeah.
Somebody goes down, there's zero depth, and I don't think there's anybody on the practice squad. Oh no, CJ Dippre, but who cares? You don't want him playing.
Apologies to CJ and his family.
Yeah, I can't wait for his opening monologue at the next press conference about what I just said. Number 4, receivers. Like the group overall, but there's a lot of unknown, and how much is Diggs going to play, and as the season goes along, how what are they going to ask Kyle Williams to do, if anything? I think it's just I like the group overall. I like Mac Hollins on third down, red zone, clutch guy. I like Demario Douglas. How durable is he going to be? I would just say there's a lot of unknowns, so that increases my worry a little bit. But I like the depth of the group. I think from 1 at Stefon Diggs to Efton Chisholm at number 6. If somebody goes down or isn't available, like, I don't think there's going to be this huge drop off. Like, we're not going down to like Tyquan Underwood or something like that. Like, I think, if Demario Douglas goes down for a week, and Efton Chisholm is up, like, I think he'll pop in there and give approximate value. So I feel good about that. Guards is number 2 for me. Another very thin group that if either Jared Wilson or Michael Wenu goes down, it gets, pretty rough. We need to see more from Jared Wilson. We haven't seen him on the field in a while, so it's hard for me to be, super confident in him. I do have confidence in him that he's going to learn and get better every time he plays because he's that smart and that good of a kid. Awenu, I think, is still rounding into shape. It will be interesting to see how he fares in Miami in week 2. Number 6 would be the offensive tackles. And, I think I'm okay with the starters. Like, I think Will Campbell, for the same reason I said with Jared Wilson, I think he'll be fine. Morgan Moses is solid, but not the most durable guy. And then there's a drop off. What are they going to get from Vidarian Lowe and, all that stuff? And then the spot that I am most worried about on offense is center and Garrett Bradbury. I probably have more. If Ben Brown was starting the season, I actually might feel better about it. But they're going forward with Garrett Bradbury and his experience and his ability in the run game. Maybe that's a precursor to them being like, we're going to run the ball a lot. And I do think they're going to have the ability to run the ball a lot against this Raiders defense. Maybe that's where they're going right now, but I would not be surprised if Ben Brown isn't the starter at some point this season, just because his pass pro ability is pretty good. But yeah, center still scares me to death.
I would flip tight end, fullback with wide receiver just because, as you mentioned, the depth of it. I mean, you got Diggs, you got Pop. That feels somewhat the same as a Hunter Henry, Austin Hooper combination. But then you have Hollins and Booty fighting it out for 3. And then you've got Kyle Williams, which I think, Williams will steadily progress through the season and be a bigger part of things as we get to the second half of the year. And I would also flip guard and tackle just because Caden Wallace is a first-time left guard. I don't know if he can do the job consistently. Ben Brown is really a center, not a guard. At least you got Marcus Bryant and Vidarian Lowe, 2 guys that have played the position. And, Vidarian, whether he's been good or not, he's, I think he's at least a backup tackle in the NFL. Yeah. So I would probably put tackle ahead of guard. But look, we're talking very slim margin here. Also, shout out to Greg for whatever reason, catching Tyquan Underwood with a stray.
We made it, everybody. Football season is finally here. College football, now pro football. Get it? You got to be there. You do. I know you like sitting at home, the TV, but there's nothing like being there. The sights, the sounds, being part of the fans, helping out your defense, being quiet when the offense is on the field. You got to be there in person to really experience football. And the best place to do that, to get the tickets, to find the tickets, it's my friends over at Gametime. The Gametime apps gives the advantage back to fans. It's the hack for unlocking amazing tickets and experiences in just a few taps. It's incredibly easy to use, and the Gametime guarantee means you can trust you'll get 100% authentic tickets on time and at the best price. Plus, fees are always included. So what you see is what you pay. I got to tell you, I used Gametime the other day to go to the Red Sox game. Big pitching matchup on a Friday night. I'm sure you know which game. It was awesome. I went on the app, found a great deal behind home plate, great view, could see everything, could see the break of the pitches. I had great seats at a great deal. Found it. Gametime told me it was one of the best deals in the ballpark. It took me about 3 minutes from purchasing, setting up my account, getting my tickets, hooking it up to the MLB app, and then putting the tickets into my wallet so that I had them and I didn't have to worry about any MLB snafus or anything like that. I had it right there. It was easy. It took me about 3 minutes, and we had a great time at the game. At Gametime, you have zone deals. Save even more when you choose a section and let Gametime choose the seats. Snag new ticket deals before anyone finds out by following your favorite teams in the Gametime app to receive alerts. That's pretty cool. Get a panoramic view from your seat in the app before you buy. That's a must for me. I definitely did it. And you got to watch yourself at Fenway because you never know. You might buy obstructive view. Nah, Gametime takes care of that because they give you a view from your seat. The lowest price guarantee or Gametime will credit you 110% of the difference. I looked for the Patriots-Raiders opener. You can get in pretty decent seats. $169 all in per seat. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime picks. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code CLNS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code CLNS for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download the Gametime app today.
All right, defensively, let's do the same thing defensively. We'll go most confident. Let's start there at defensive end, Greg.
Yeah, I love their edge group. I think they're underrated. I really like sort of the, I wouldn't say they flipped or things have changed dramatically, but basically maybe we would have thought like Anthony Jennings and Keon White would play like huge roles going into this. Maybe not Jennings, considering they signed Harold Landry, but now to go with Harold Landry and Kayvon Chason on the edge, I think both of them are really good. I think they're pros. I think that they're underrated. They know how to set up tackles. They know how to get pressure. I think they're going to be, pretty good. And I love the depth. I mean, between, Keon White, Elijah Ponder, Anthony Jennings, that is a deep, deep group. And, I would be fine with all of them starting at some point if they needed to, and I would feel good about it. Cornerbacks, look, the Gonzalez thing's hanging all over this, but I think he'll be out there and play well at some point in time. And when you talk about Gonzalez, Davis, and also Marcus Jones in the slot, I think they're all pretty good, especially the outside guys. Marcus Jones sometimes, because of his lack of height, gets picked on a little bit. I do think they have other options, whether it's, Alex Austin or DJ James. I like the depth. They don't have any depth in the slot. You put Alex Austin or DJ James in there. Are they going to be good? Could be. I don't know. DJ James, reminds me a lot of Malcolm Butler when he came as a undrafted free agent, where he's just making plays on the ball all the time and talking in the third person about himself. But that's how Malcolm came up. He came up and earned his role in the slot, and then it went from there. Safety, there's a lot of unknowns. Hawkins doesn't get beat, but do you ever remember him making many plays? I like Woodson, but is this a little soon for a 4th round pick to take on these responsibilities and deal with these NFL offenses? We'll see. What is Duggar's role? Pettis is violent and a good tackler. If he gets pressed into service, can he do the job? I don't know. defensive tackle is my penultimate uh, most worried spot, and that might surprise some people considering the amount of money and amount of investment that they put into that group, especially with Christian Barmore and Milton Williams. But Christian Barmore, speaking of those Raiders on how they barely played, I, I don't know what they're going to get out of Christian Barmore. He's been out there somewhat, early on in camp when he was out there is very impactful. There are other
Yeah.
times where I didn't notice him. We know his potential, the durability factor. Williams, powerful guy, can push the pocket, doesn't really have a whole lot of pass rush moves. They're paying him a lot of money. Is he going to be able to put up? We don't know whether he could. He's never had to play this type of load as far as playing time. He's been a part-time guy. Now he's going to be a full-time guy. There's no Jalen Carter there to take up double teams. Maybe it's Christian Barmore. Maybe it's somebody else. I don't know. But I just think I actually probably the guy that I feel best about on the interior is Kairos Tonga, who every time I've watched him, the dude has done something. And it's interesting that when they put out their quote unquote unofficial depth chart, they actually had 3 defensive tackles. It was Barmore, Williams, and Tonga as the starters. I don't know how often they're going to play like that. And then, of course, linebackers. If anybody's listening to this podcast, they know how I feel about the linebackers. I feel good about Spillane. He's not a playmaker other than in the pass game. I haven't brought this up enough, Nick. I think we talked about this when they first signed him, but Robert Spillane is excellent at dropping into coverage, into zone coverage, reading the quarterback, getting into passing lanes, getting his hands, anticipating from his film study and knowing the quarterback, where the routes are going to be, getting his hands on passes. I think he's like tied for the league lead with like 4 interceptions over the past couple of years at linebacker. That's real. That's where he impacts the game. If you're thinking that he's going to, be running sideline to sideline and getting a lot of tackles for losses, that's not really his game, but he's just really good and solid. Other than that, linebacker's a complete crapshoot for me.
No notes other than to just remind people of the greatest DJ James quote of all time. DJ James always gets around the ball. He's always around the ball, quote unquote. All right. Before we
who said that?
Yeah, DJ James. Yeah, DJ James is DJ James's greatest quote. DJ James always gets around the ball. Let's get to the game pick. Brought to you by Prizepicks. Download the Prizepicks app today. Use code CLNS and get $50 instantly when you play $5. All right, week 1. This is a complete who the hell knows. We're going to give it the best shot that we got because we have no idea what either of these teams are going to truly do on Sunday, scheme-wise, approach-wise, yada, yada. But the Patriots are 3-point favorites, which really means this is a toss-up. This is a coin flip. If a home team has a 3-point advantage or less, it's a coin flip. Well, less, you actually want to favor the away team. That's how it works. So -3 for the Pats. The over-under is 43.5. What do you think, Greg?
So, like you said, I'm gonna state this at the top, echo what you just said. I have no freaking idea what's gonna happen on Sunday. I don't. I wish I could. I wish I could give you a high level analysis, but there's just too much new in this, and so I'm looking at a few things. Okay, number one, we've talked about this before about how Mike Vrabel ran his camp. And Mike Vrabel has lost. He's going in with a 3-game losing streak in season opening games. His Tennessee Titans did not start the seasons fast with him. Will that change now? I have no idea. Pete Carroll, 2-1 in his last 3 season openers with the Seattle Seahawks. I also want to bring up, and again, these are projections. Who knows? My guy, Aaron Schatz, over at FTN Fantasy, his DVOA, he adjusted them for the season from when his almanac came out. He has the Raiders at 8.3 estimated wins. He has them ranked 18th in total DVOA. The Patriots are ranked 25th 7.9 mean wins. What's interesting is, so his projection for the Patriots offense, for the units, okay, offense 25th, defense 20th. I think a lot of people would be surprised about that, and I might be as well in just a second. Special teams 11th. The Raiders 20th offense, 12th defense. I don't know where he's getting that from. I would flip-flop those two teams in terms of those rankings. 25th in special teams, even though I really like the punter, AJ Cole, Daniel Carlson, the place kicker. I think those guys are two of the best in the league. So with all that in mind, I keep going back and forth on this game, Nick. I'm going to pick the Raiders. I think I'm going to pick the Raiders 27-24. I think I am very fearful of Drake May trying to make something happen and Max Crosby coming from behind and tomahawking the ball out of his hands. Like, Drake has to be cognizant of where Max Crosby is, and he never ever gives up on a play. He will, and he might even chase Drake May down after a 5-yard gain and strip the ball from him. Like, you never know. He is all over the place. I have nightmares in my head about Drake May getting sacked and strip sacked by Mason Crosby. That will not go away until the game's over. I just think that I really like Josh McDaniels against the Raiders defense. I really like Chip Kelly against the Patriots defense. I just think I like Geno Smith a little bit more in this game over Drake May. So I'm going to go with the Raiders by 3.
Okay. I have the same score, 27-24. Honest to goodness. But I have the Patriots winning 27-24. So we both like the over. We both think this is a 3-point game, which means I have a question for you. If it is a 3-point game, it's a push. We don't really want to do that, right? So are we going to change our final prediction here and mix it up and say, I don't know, 27-23? Do you want to do that? Or do you want to stand by it and say this is a push?
Well, yours is a push.
Yeah, mine is a push. Yours is a win. So should I keep my push, or do I go all in on the Patriots and say Patriots -3?
I think if the Patriots win, I think it's going to they're going to beat the point spread. So I would go up to 4.
All right.
How are you feeling about Andy Borregales in this game?
Yeah, Borregales, 27-23. Patriots win because we all hate Greg. Everybody enjoy the football game on Sunday. We'll be back early next week to recap. Until then, be well and have some fun.